Hey guys, and welcome to another review. So today we're going to be taking a closer look at these beautiful loudspeakers out of France. Now I think they do a great job of combining that typical clean European aesthetic with something that looks seriously badass. Now these speakers are called the Australes, and they currently serve as the flagship for Triangle's ESPRIT product line. So let's get to know them a little bit better by rolling that intro. Okay, so I'm going to kick off this review by briefly summarizing who Triangle is and what they're all about. So, in short, Triangle is a French manufacturer that have been designing and building loudspeakers for over 3 decades, with the majority of their designs featuring unique parts that you will only find in their product. Now, I mention this because the majority of the people who watch my videos live in North America, and as it just so happens, Triangle never established themselves all too well in this market. However, once you travel across the pond and you start visiting dealerships in Europe, you're going to notice that, wow, okay, Triangle is very well represented and very well established. And that's because there's a lot of people out there who really love what they do. And that leads me to their overall philosophy when it comes to performance. In short, what Triangle is going for is the recreation of a live musical event through a speaker that's very dynamic, very quick and clear, and something that plays with a sense of enthusiasm. So, having said that, now let's switch over to what you get with the Australe, but first, a tea break. Doesn't taste very pumpkin spicy. Okay, so now it's time to talk about what you get with the beautiful Australe. And I think the best place to begin is to first comment on its overall size and build quality. Now, as you guys can tell, these are pretty tall speakers. They stand at just over 44 inches in height, but the real story is going to be the build quality. Guys, these are incredibly solid speakers. They weigh 85 pounds apiece, which is actually more than the Klipsch Forte 3. In fact, let me do a quick knuckle test for you. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but if you can, you're going to notice that there's no thud or resonance to that sound. These cabinets are very dense and very inert. And now let's transition over to the geeky side of things. So, when you look at the Australe, what you're going to get is a 3-way front ported design. Now, every driver that you see on this speaker is both designed and made by Triangle. So let's look at the driver configuration. Starting with the top, we have a 1-inch titanium dome tweeter housed inside of a horn. Now, here's going to be the trippy thing. There's actually 2 horn tweeters on this speaker, one in the front and then one in the back. Now, I'm going to expand on why they do that in just a little bit, but moving on, let's focus on this driver. This is going to be a 6.5-inch paper cone woofer. This is designed to handle our mid-range, and it's all about having low mass. Beneath that, we are going to have 3 6.5-inch paper woofers. Now, this is going to be designed to handle the bass, and what's unique about this is kind of like a custom woofer of a custom woofer. So what they've done here is they took a woofer that they already made and customized it for the Australe because they wanted something that would have that balance between speed, yet have the kind of bass and power that you would expect from something that, well, quite frankly, looks like this. Anyways, that's what you get with the front of this speaker. Now let's take a look at the back. Alright guys, so the lighting is going to be a bit wonky for this section, and that's because it's night out, and this is the best that I can do right now. Anyways, what you're looking at is the rear firing tweeter on the Australe. Now it's important to note that this is the same exact driver that's found on the front of the speaker, and what's going on is Triangle is attempting to mitigate an issue that's known with many horn drivers, which is the fact that they can be very localized and directional, meaning that they tend to sound best when you're sitting in between the speakers in the sweet spot, but as you stand and you move about the room, the presentation gets a lot more disconnected and just a lot worse. This rear tweeter is designed to mitigate a lot of those issues by not only giving the listener a more spacious sound, but a more even-keeled off-axis performance, meaning that it's going to be great for people who like to stand up and walk around as they listen to music, and it's also going to be good for people who like to invite friends and family to listen to movies or music. Now, it creates a very unique effect, and it's definitely something that I'm going to be talking about in my review. Another thing worth noting is that the driver is in phase with the front tweeter, and it also comes on at about 100 hertz lower at around a 4,000 kilohertz mark. Now, let's go all the way down to our binding post. This is a really nice terminal here. I like how they use speaker cables, or cables I should say, instead of the typical brass jumpers. It's a very nice touch. And then on the bottom, we have a glass plinth. Now, the glass plinth is going to have this solid rubber piece that separates the speaker from the plinth, and it just screws together. And this is a really cool feature just because if you need stability, it's really good for that. It also comes with multiple different ways to decouple the speakers from the floor. You get aluminum spikes. You also get rubber pads if you'd rather go in that direction. And you can get something flat like this in case you have flooring that you don't want to scratch. And it's also worth noting that if you don't want to use the plinth, you can still plug these same things into the speakers themselves. So it's cool to have options. So now let's finally talk about how these speakers sound. Alright, so now we've arrived to my favorite part of the review, which is all about performance. And when it comes to the sound of the Australes, they make this section easy because they have such a distinct character. Let me put it to you guys like this. If you're out there looking for an accurate sound, then these speakers aren't going to be for you. If you're looking for something that's laid back and warm sounding, these speakers are not going to be for you. Instead, they're going to be for somebody who says, hey look, when I come home at the end of the day, I want to enjoy a presentation that's lively. I want something that's all about detail and speed. I want dynamics and I want spaciousness to my sound. If that's you, then there's a good chance you're going to enjoy the Australes, because that's what they're all about. They're all about reproducing sound with a sense of openness and occasion and enthusiasm. And that leads me to their performance envelope. So I feel like when most people listen to the speaker, one of the first things that you're going to notice is how it projects sound into the room. In a way, it's a little bit like Klipsch. Only, unlike Klipsch, which can make it sound like the performers are just right there standing inches from your nose, these speakers make it sound like you're about 8 or 9 rows back from the main stage, if that makes any sense to you. If it doesn't, then what you can expect from them is a character that resides on the forward side of neutral. The mid-range is going to be quick, yet a little bit light and cool sounding, and then the bass is going to be strong, punchy, if not a little bit warm sounding. And that leads me to the individual elements of the presentation, starting with the treble. So the treble is going to be an input-output situation, meaning that it's going to reveal what your electronics are really doing. So if you pair it with something that's bright or unrefined sounding, that's what you're going to get. If you pair it with something that's more neutrally voiced, then you're going to get treble that's neutral and well integrated with the rest of the presentation. And if you pair it up with something that's more laid back sounding, then you're going to get treble that's smooth and easy to listen to. Funnily enough, the treble is going to be more sensitive to the equipment than to the recordings that it's reproducing. Kind of funky. Anyways, when it comes to detail, you're going to get plenty of detail, and best of all, you're not going to have to crank the volume in order to hear all of that fine information. So if you're somebody who listens at low volumes, this is great news. Now, let's comment on the rear tweeter. This creates this great sense of spaciousness, and you're going to notice this because as you stand up and walk around the room when these speakers are playing music, you're going to notice no disconnect between the treble and the rest of the presentation, which is good news. Now, let's move on and talk about the mid-range. So the mid-range is all about speed, articulation. It's not warm sounding, and if anything, it's a little bit light and cool sounding. It's going to be great for people who listen to live acoustic music. And overall, the mid-range projects in a forward way. So this speaker, I gotta say, it's something that you have to experience in a properly set up demo in order to really appreciate it. Moving on, let's talk about the bass. The bass is gonna be strong. It's gonna be punchy sounding. In a modest sized room, it's even gonna be visceral sounding. I mean, you'll actually feel the low end on certain recordings. Now, I feel like Triangle did a pretty good job of finding that balance between speed and heft. When you play complex bass passages through this speaker, it doesn't have any issues with tracking those passages, yet there's still some heft and warmth to the sound. Now, speaking of bass, one of the things that you need to know is that this speaker needs room to breathe in order to perform its best. When it comes to bass, I would say it needs to be out at least 2 feet or more from any wall boundary, or else it may sound a little bit boomy, especially in a smaller room. And that leads me to imaging. So, as you can imagine, this speaker lays down a very wide soundstage. It's very spacious, very airy sounding, but there is a compromise, and that's the fact that if you have these speakers close to a wall, they're not going to be able to give you a locked-in center image in between the speakers. Now, they are capable of doing that, but you need to pull them out from a wall boundary first. I would say a good 2 feet from the rear wall is where you're going to get the best of both worlds. That good center image as well as a nice enveloping soundstage, but it's just something for you to know. Now moving on, let's talk about dynamics. So when it comes to dynamics, these speakers are going to be very good. In fact, I would say in a small room, they can be outright visceral. I mean, you listen to something that's bombastic, I mean, they can hit you in the chest. It's a pretty cool experience. They definitely hit a lot harder than the Klipsch Forte 3s can, which again, just adds to the fun and thrilling experience that Triangle was going for. So while these speakers are clearly very good, they're not perfect, so let's go over some of those imperfections now. Okay, so when it comes to compromises, there are three main points that I need to emphasize. Number one, the Austral is not a drop and plop solution, meaning that if you're limited on space or patience, these are not going to be the speakers for you. Because number one, they need room to breathe. They need some space in order to sound their best. And beyond that, they're sensitive to the equipment that they perform best with, meaning that you're going to have to experiment around a bit to figure out what sounds best to your ears in your room. Moving on, let's talk about number two, availability. So Triangle follows the typical manufacturer, distributor, dealership business model. The only problem with that is that the Austral is only available through the brick and mortar dealers, and they're not allowed to sell them online, which limits the ability for people to audition and of course own them. Now, moving on, let's talk about the third point, which is going to be price. Now, this isn't so much as a compromise as it is my forgetting to mention it at the beginning of the video. Still, these speakers are not cheap. They retail for $4,500 US a pair. Now, when you take a step back and you look at the build quality, the unique drivers, and the overall performance, it totally makes sense. But still, this is going to put them out of reach of many prospective buyers. But the good news is that if you like everything that I've said about the sound so far, they just released a new line called the Boreas series that uses trickle-down tech from the speaker that you're looking at right here. So they should sound pretty good, and they're going to be a lot more affordable. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the caveats. Now, let's wrap up this review. Okay, so now that we've reached the end of this video, I'm going to wrap things up by laying down a few thoughts with you guys. Number one, I think there's a lot of people out there who would genuinely love these speakers if they had a chance to experience them in a proper environment. Number one, they look great. Number two, they're built very well. And then number three, they have the kind of sound that, let's face it, the majority of the audiophile buying public wants. I mean, look at successful brands like Klipsch and Kef and B&W and Paradigm, and the list goes on. One of the things that they all have in common is that the voicing of their products is actually pretty similar. Products that have bumped up top end, slightly thin sounding upper mid-range, a punchy dynamic sound, something with big imaging. These speakers have all of that, plus they have good natural tone as well. So I think it's a shame that Triangle hasn't had a whole lot of success growing outside of the European market, but still, the product itself seems very good. And speaking of Triangle, I think it's important to mention how the new Triangles are not like the Triangles from 10 plus years ago. I've had a few of those products, and while they're very good, they're also very polarizing. I mean, you pair them up to solid state gear with brutal recordings, I mean, they're just gonna rip your ears off. These speakers, believe it or not, even though they're picky, are far easier to work with and are far safer sounding than Triangle products of old. And then lastly, I'm going to wrap this whole thing up with my subjective thoughts on these speakers. And in short, I do like them. Now, I admit I prefer a sound that's softer, a little warmer sounding, but I nonetheless appreciate what these bring to the table. And quite frankly, I wouldn't kick them out of the house, especially if I could use them in a multimedia setup to where I have something to where I can enjoy my games, my movies, and to use them for music as well. Yeah, they're definitely great for that application. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for my review on the Triangle Austral. And wow, I'm not losing it towards the end as usual. Anyways, guys, we're going to embrace the moment here, and I'm going to end things by saying thanks for watching, and until next time, peace. Okay guys, so I was going to reserve this bonus section for two things. Number one, I was going to compare these speakers to the Klipsch Forte 3, something that I know a lot of you would enjoy. And then number two, I was going to go over the things that you could do to get really good sound out of them. I'm talking about placement tips and of course, equipment matching advice. Now, something just popped up that's going to prevent me from filming this section of the video. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to film a separate video dedicated to how Klipsch compares to the Australes. And in the description box down below, I'm going to have a number of different pieces of advice for those of you who may be interested in buying these speakers and you'd just like to know what's going to work well for them and how you can get really good sound out of the speakers. So anyways, guys, that's just it. Sorry for cutting things short in a very weird way, but nonetheless, now for real this time, thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.